So, following through with a campaign promise, Donald Trump has pardoned Ross Ulbricht, and he is free from prison. Now, this is a very huge deal because this was something in which the libertarian community was fighting for. This is one of these things in which, the future of, well, e-currency and so many other things are taking place. So in order to break it down just a little bit, I want to read a letter, or not read a letter. I'm going to have Thomas Massey, actually Representative Thomas Massey, read a letter that he got from Ross when he wrote from him in prison. So let's pull up this video segment here and share it with the people.
To a letter that Ross wrote me on December 14th of this year. And his mom, Lynn, gave this to me. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this because it's personal, but it brought a tear to my eye. Mr. Massey, Inauguration Day fast approaches, and my hopes are running high that our new president will quickly put an end to my incarceration once he is sworn in. As I await the beginning of my new life in freedom, I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for your part in bringing about this wonderful outcome. You have consistently been a powerful voice in the public sphere, supporting my campaign for freedom. So my imminent release is as much a victory for you as it is for me and my family. Thank you for every single time you supported me, both publicly and in private. You put your faith and confidence in me. And now that I'm getting my second chance, I promise to make you proud that you did. I would love to connect with you once I am on the other side of these walls to see how I can help further the cause of freedom. So he's already thinking about what he can do. I know Josie's crying. I cried when I read this. I've read it twice, practiced it without. This is the first time I've been able to read it without crying. Because this is, like you were saying, Tim, this is a personal example of how an election matters, down to somebody who was going to rot in prison, was rotting in prison. And by the way, Ross, he didn't even, he was willing to settle for less than what Trump gave him. He was willing to settle to have a sentence commuted, which means you're basically guilty, an admission of guilt, but your sentence is over. You've served enough time. And it was a ridiculous over sentencing, regardless of the guilt or not. I think it's a violation of the Eighth Amendment. Eighth Amendment to our Constitution says no cruel or unusual punishment. Why should you get 2 life sentences plus 40 years?
Well, explain what he's accused. What was he accused of doing?
Running a website that allowed people to buy and sell drugs, for instance, using Bitcoin. I think they made an example out of him because they didn't want people using Bitcoin. And now it's far more mainstream, but I think that's one of the reasons they did it.
But I think we should clarify. I guess the website allowed people to buy and trade. What people did with it after the fact was what the people did with it.
Well, MasterCard lets you pay for prostitutes, right?
Okay, so to be clear here, Ross was being made an example of because of what other people were using and doing on his website. Now, look, at the end of the day, people are going to be people. And the internet, it can be argued, can somewhat still be the Wild West. And when there's a new frontier, a new piece of territory in this very beautiful but also frightening world that we are all part of, that is actually attached to us, whether we like to admit it or not, yes, there are going to be individuals that will have nefarious plans, devious plans. And the thing is, you could put as much prevention into something as possible, people will still find a way. And while it's not related, case in point, prohibition that took place in the 30s. Yeah, stopping people from drinking. Sounds like a good idea on paper, but the thing is, people do like to drink. And of course, because of that, there was a nefarious underground network of criminality that was created in which people would gladly pay their hard-earned money for a sip of whiskey, a glass of wine, you name it, a case of beer, whatever, is what it is. However, what happened to Ross was very unusual and cruel, and this was a campaign promise that was done by Donald Trump. Now, you could say whatever you want about him, but there's also a bigger picture here, and that is the future of Bitcoin and e-currency. And while I have my criticisms of Bitcoin and its possible collapse, if and when it does happen, until then, it is still being used. Now, we here at Hard Lens Media encourage everybody, if you want to stick your toe into the e-currency world, please do your homework, double check and triple check, and please be safe when you're doing it, because there's no guarantee that you're going to strike gold. So please be careful. But continuing on, there's a reason why this is so significant. I want to play this video here.
I'm thinking of a phrase in my head: make libertarians relevant again. And you know, a lot of times the only way libertarians are relevant in elections is to be the spoiler in a close race. Maybe they take some of the votes away, like the Green Party might do to Democrats. But in this case, Angela McArdle, the chair of the Libertarian Party, decided to reach out, invited Trump to the Libertarian National Convention, where he spoke and he made this pledge that he would free Ross Ulbricht. So I think that's a big deal. That contributed to this. I decided 2 weeks before the election to endorse Trump myself. And I called him up and he answered the phone. We talked a little bit and I said, well, what should my endorsement say? And he brought up Ross.
Wow.
To me. And so he said, you know, you could put that in your endorsement. And I thought, well, that would be a good way to lock this in.
Yeah.
So I did. I put it in my endorsement. In the middle of my endorsement is a sentence that says, you know, the president has committed to freeing Ross Ulbricht. And then President Trump retweeted my endorsement, which it's not legally binding, but it really, I think, made it more solid. And I was, you know, just based on my personal conversation with President Trump, I was certain he was going to keep his word on this. And to me, this is a litmus test, really. Are you going to convert those campaign promises into reality? Because once you get elected, it's hard to hold people accountable. Right.
I was worried.
Now, the thing is, going at this even further, because I do want to pull up this article here from Forbes. It's going to happen. Now, this is an article that came out today, January 22nd, 2025. Bitcoin and crypto prices have swung wildly over the last week as U.S. president. Again, there's always a big reaction to everything here. Bitcoin and crypto prices have swung wildly over the last week as U.S. President Donald Trump begins his second term. The Bitcoin price has reclaimed 100,000 per Bitcoin, climbing as traders predict a so-called God candle could be about to hit the market. So I'm kind of kicking myself in the head because at one point, even I almost could have had a chance to buy Bitcoin. And let's just say, you know, things would be different. But oh well, kicking myself in the head. Now, after Trump's crypto czar declared a new age has just begun, a presidential pardon for Silk Road, Silk Road, third time's a charm, founder Ross Ulbricht has sent expectations soaring that Trump will follow through on his campaign promise to create a U.S. Bitcoin reserve. This could be a huge game changer because, as a few people have pointed out in my chat, there's a big difference between Bitcoin and crypto. However, again, I will give this warning. If you are choosing to be involved in Bitcoin or any kind of e-currency, anything of that nature, it's very wise of you to do your research and do your homework, because remember, folks, you might not strike gold and it could be a disaster. And don't fall for false promises, okay? Always double check. That's the one thing I will always encourage you, my audience, to do. Do your own research. Continuing on. If Ross Ulbricht got a pardon, which he did, as it stands right now, we are definitely getting the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Crypto YouTuber and influencer Anthony Pompliano posted on X, Trump will create history with the stroke of his pen. In December, Trump confirmed he plans to establish a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're going to do something great with crypto because we don't want China or anybody else, but others are embracing it, and we want to be ahead, Trump told CNBC. Yes, I think so, Trump said in response to a question about whether the U.S. will create a Bitcoin strategic reserve similar to its oil reserve. In July, then Republican candidate Donald Trump promised to create a strategic national Bitcoin reserve and predicted Bitcoin could eclipse gold's 16 trillion market capitalization during an appearance at the Bitcoin 2024 conference. Ulbricht, the founder of the dark web marketplace Silk Road, who went by the Princess Bride movie-inspired moniker Dread Pirate Roberts and helped popularize the use of Bitcoin for online transaction, has been given a full pardon by Trump, fulfilling a campaign promise. Following the announcement, Tesla billionaire and Trump advisor Elon Musk said he'd asked if Roger Ver, an influential Bitcoin and crypto developer, may receive a similar pardon over tax evasion charges. The odds of Trump creating a U.S. Bitcoin stockpile on the Polymarket prediction platform shot up following Ulbricht's pardon, who was serving multiple life sentences without possibility of parole following his 2015 conviction. Now, the thing is, folks, again, what people do use on that website or Silk Road, again, it was for nefarious reasons. Ross cannot be held responsible for people's actions. So what were some of these things? Well, a lot of it had to do with criminality. And because we're also live on YouTube, and yes, I know we're live on other platforms, let's just say it involved illegal materials and other forms of criminality that involve people. So, yes, he was being hit with that, and he was serving too many life sentences behind it. But this was also an attempt, as many have argued, as a way to control Bitcoin, especially in the early years. As we all know, if something new comes up to challenge the establishment system or standard monetary value, those in power will do everything they can to crush the new up-and-comers. That's just how it's always been in antiquity, and it's how it's always been even now. But the fact that Trump has followed through with his campaign promise once again secures, I guess, more influence, especially for those who are heavily involved in the Bitcoin and crypto community. Now, again, when it comes down to Bitcoin, it is far more different than the other forms of cryptocurrency. But to be involved in that does require for you to be alert 24/7, because right now there's a lot of people hyping up that it could potentially reach for more value. And if it does happen, just be careful, because everything that rises up eventually has its fall. But this is fantastic knowing that, again, somebody's being pardoned, he's been freed, and I'm glad that Ross is finally coming home. For a lot of people, welcome home, Ross. Bitcoiners stand with you. Jack Mallers is the chief executive of Bitcoin wallet company Strike, posted on X. Trump's launch of a controversial, widely mocked meme coin over the weekend had somewhat dampened the spirits of the Bitcoin and crypto community ahead of the inauguration on Monday. However, Ulbricht's pardon has re-energized bullish Bitcoin spectators who believe Trump will create a crypto golden age. But remember, here's the thing about golden ages, folks. They always do come to an end. So while many people are hyped up on the potential of it, and I know there's a couple of people in the INN community, shout out to Indie News Network, especially huge shout out to Golden Monarch, who has done a fantastic job. Indy has shared some of your posts and articles, and I've even seen a lot of other posts and articles done by INN about cryptocurrency and e-currency, Bitcoin, and that matter. Please just be careful, folks. That's one thing I would suggest. But if anything, please follow Golden Monarch. He has done a phenomenal job in breaking things down, as well as please check out Indie News Network, because while they are being heavily suppressed, their articles are very on point. And I just want to give the full acknowledgement to the people who are doing some fantastic work. One other thing here, too, the establishment media has also been weighing in on Ross's recent pardon. President Trump said Tuesday that he had signed a full pardon for Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the scandalous online marketplace Silk Road, fulfilling a campaign promise Trump made to the libertarian voters, which, listen, if there's anything right now, this is definitely, Trump has done more for, I guess, the libertarian campaign promises than what the libertarian candidate has done, or libertarian candidates have done in for this election cycle. So already his coalition still remains. Continuing on, Trump posted on Truth Social that he called Ulbricht's mother to inform her of the pardon. The scum that worked to convict him were some of the same lunatics who were involved in the modern day weaponization of government against me. He was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Ridiculous, Trump posted on Truth Social. Ulbricht founded Silk Road, which served as an online black market for, again, illicit criminality and other illegal materials. He was convicted in 2015 on 7 accounts related to the strike on the site, including distributing narcotics on the internet and engaging and continuing a criminal enterprise. That's also code word for the establishment wanted to silence and hit him for things that were understandably out of his control. Ulbricht was sentenced to life in prison, and his release had become a rallying cause for many libertarians. Trump spoke in May at the Libertarian National Convention in Washington, where he sought to broaden his appeal by promising to commute Ulbricht's sentence 2 times served on his first day in office. Ross Ulbricht has been a libertarian political prisoner for more than a decade. I'm proud to say that saving his life has been one of our top priorities, and that has finally paid off, Libertarian National Committee Chair Angela McArdle said in a statement on Tuesday. And we've actually interviewed Angela in the past, and I will be reaching out to her to try and get her back on the show to speak of this historic event. So this is some fantastic news. I'm glad to see, again, people being freed. Nothing puts a smile to my face more than, hey, you out of jail. It's a prison break. And so there you go. Trump followed through with a promise. What other promises Trump will follow through on? He's been already on a roll. He already pardoned 1,500 people for the January 6th riot that took place in 2021, as well as a few other promises as well. Already in 2 days into his time as president, it's abundantly clear that Trump intends to follow through with at least most of his promises. And at least for Ross's family, they could breathe a sigh of relief knowing that he's home. So welcome home and all the best to you.